Well, welcome to the second Star Sports Kennel visit for this year's English Greyhound Derby. I haven't had to come too far today. I'm at Imperial Kennels talking to trainer Mark Wallis, of course, my dad, about our very exciting Derby team this year. Well, I'm now joined by my dad, Mark Wallis. He won the Derby 2 times already, first in 2009 with Kind of Ready and then in 2012 with Blonde Snapper. So it's been 13 years. In the final last year with YI Man, had a couple of finalists before then as well. But how do you feel about the Derby? Because obviously a lot of competition wins, but that is something that has eluded you for the past few years at least.
Yes, it has eluded us for a little while, but I can't say how it really. Um, it wouldn't be something that bothers me at all. Just the fact that we not only won it once but twice. Um, I think when you look back at Liam Dowling's interview, and you can see how much just winning it once meant to their kennel, as I'm sure it did to many trainers. The fact that once you've won it, like it does sort of ease any pressure of wanting to win it to win it again. But of course we do. Every top kennel out there, the Derby is the pinnacle. It's the showpiece event of our sport, and we'd love to win it. Say somebody like Charlie Lister who's won it 7 times. I'd love to emulate that kind of thing. Although I don't think that'll ever be beat. But I think in particular with under this new MWD partnership that's been hugely successful with myself and Mike and all the team, it does bring that sort of little added edge that you'd like to win it under this new partnership, because it feels like a whole new thing. So a Derby victory would be really special for that. And of course, yes, if we was lucky enough to win a third one, then fantastic.
Before last year, the last time he made the final was in 2018 with Bruiser's Bullet and Bomber's Bullet. But having that run last year, getting to the final, I know for me personally, it's something, now you've done it last year, you want to do it again this year.
Yes, it was a great Derby final last year, and it was fantastic getting one through. I mean, Wyoming was a big outsider, but wow, what a massive race he ran on the night, and to finish a close-up third, it was a real thrill. And we came out of that final thinking, wow, a dog like YI very good open racer, good class dog, can be third in a final. What could we do if we had a dog that was even better than he is? And I think this year we have got a couple of contenders that perhaps got just a little bit more all round pace than what YI Man did. So we feel like we're in with banging with a chance this year.
Touching on that, I think it's probably been a while as well since you've had one so high up in the anti-post market. We're not going to go into specifics just yet, but in general, it's looking like a really nice team this year, probably the best we've had for a little while as well.
We've certainly got a couple of dogs there that, as we're going to talk about, are high up in the betting market. Yeah, it's going to be a small team overall. I mean, I do remember going back to the Wimbledon days where we'd enter, over 10 dogs sometimes, and most of them were just to have a runner in the Derby without the potential to actually winning it. But we always had one or two there that we thought could go a long way, and obviously we achieved the goal of winning a couple of times, which those nights were just the best ever in ground racing. And you know, again, I feel like as a trainer and a kennel that's won the Derby, there's it definitely takes a little bit of pressure off of you, which is good for the dogs that we've got currently, because we're not trying to win it for the first time or anything like that. So we've been there and done it, and know we can do it again if we've got the right dog.
Touching on the first dog, and the best chance, I think it's fair to say, is Proper Heiress. Firstly, how good has he been so far? Only started racing him in September, and he's already won 3 Category 1s, so he's a very special dog.
Yeah. Right from the day he come in, we saw some real potential there, and in the way he trialled in his first maiden victory at Toaster. I think that was against Droopy's Plunge, and that's a good dog. So that was a good maiden. we decided to go for 2 competitions with him, more to give him some experience competitions and travelling away. And we went to Sheffield, where he was unluckily beaten in the semi-final, and then to Nottingham for the Eclipse, and again he made the semi-final. Didn't quite get the rub of the green then, but we saw a lot of potential in him there, and the obvious target was then to go to Hove. But the Olympic was a great competition, but he come of age there, and I've got to be honest with you, he performed above expectations and was just exceptional, both in the heat, semi-final, and then in the final. You know, after taking a hefty bump out the start of the traps, he took off and won a really good final. So right from then we knew, wow, this dog is could be something special, and he's not disappointed this year. Obviously, a fantastic victory in the Winter Derby at Monmore, and followed by an even better victory, in my opinion, at Central Park, and in the Kent Plate. And you know, we go into this derby, he's as short as 12-1 now, which is probably the shortest price runner we've had for many years, you know, and that's exciting in itself to see, you know, that you've got a dog right up there in the betting. It's fantastic, you know, and I think the only thing that we really need to see is, you know, a couple of real good runs around Toaster before, and obviously we're taking on a high-class juvenile a week Sunday, which is going to be a real special race, and then we've got about another 2 or 3 weeks to the Derby after that. So, you know, all his racing's going to be at Toaster, and I don't think it'll phase him being at the same track for that amount of time. And he, you know, he's just trying to prepare him properly for a juvenile, and then sort of maybe slightly let him down to then come again for the Derby, and sort of try and get him to improve throughout the rounds. But he's certainly a real special dog, and it's a real find that Mike made there. It's one of the best buys he's made, and you know, he was a very fair price as well. You know, extraordinarily cheap in the sense of what some of these top dogs can cost these days. So you know, but the dogs don't know what they cost, and he's a great dog in the kennel. He's very calm in the kennel, and he travels well, and he eats well. Just comes alive when he's outside and in a paddocks, and then of course when you put a lead on him, he's just got such a great attitude.
I was going to ask you about the blue ribbon, because he made the final. He was last in the final out of a very tricky draw in trap 4, but I think he ran from 1, 2 and 4 throughout the competition, and especially from 1 stumbled out the trap, still won, but those mistakes would be costly in a derby. So what do you think the situation is with the traps? Do you think it's just a case of learning and having more experience around there?
Well, I think we have to realise that the dogs, since the blue ribbon has improved vastly since then. He's learnt to cope with some poorer draws. You know, to be fair, his draw in the final, it wasn't so much that he was in 4. It was a couple of the dogs immediately on his inside that, you know, didn't. You know, it wasn't a good draw. It was a great draw for table toppers on the night, but it wasn't a good draw for Harry. You know, and you know, that was a shame, but I'm sure when we go back to Toaster, that'll be all forgotten. And you know, he's definitely a dog that's capable of dipping below 28.70, which I think you've got to do to win a derby. That's for sure.
You said after the Winter Derby at Monmore that Proper Heiress was the best potentially 4-bend dog you've had since Blonde Snapper. Since then, he's won a Kent Plate, beating a very high up in the betting march on Freddie. So you still stand by that statement?
Yeah, I definitely do. Yeah, I mean, we've had some fantastic dogs since Blonde Snapper, 4-bend dogs, and won many competitions, the likes of Iron the Storm and a fantastic Bruiser's Bullet, you know, to name but a couple, sort of thing. And but I haven't seen a dog like Proper Era since that Wimbledon victory with Blonde Snapper in our kennel. I just think he's got everything. He's got early pace, good enough. Not blistering early pace, but he's great early pace. Yeah, his middle pace is just phenomenal, and he stays really strong. Which let's not forget, a Toaster. You know, short runners won't win derbies there. You've got to be able to stay 500 strong, and he does that. You know, so he looks the complete dog for me, and that's why I made that bold statement.
Second string to the team, I think it's fair to say, is Table Toppers. Had him for just over a year now, and he wasn't sort of a top class dog, but then got injured, came back in great form and won the Blue Ribbon. So he clearly is one that is proven around Toaster.
Uh, yes, that's fair comment. I think before he went lame last year, he was very young and very inexperienced and was just learning the ropes. And I think probably the injury he had that meant he had to be off for 2 or 3 months. I think we gave him a bit longer. He had time to mature a little bit, and when he came back, he just looked so improved right from his first trial back. Ran really well in his first race back, and obviously that meant that we could leave him there for the Blue Ribbon, and he was just sensational in the Blue Ribbon. He just never put a paw wrong, and really he won fair and square and on merit, and the time says it all. We've since been away. Obviously, he went to Central Park and did well to make the final there, with which Proper Areas won. But for some reason, he just looks like he's toaster made. He loves the place there, and sometimes you get horses for courses, and the same dogs love certain tracks. And I think Table Toppers absolutely loves Toaster, and I think we're going to leave him sort of fresh for the Derby and just bring him back with a couple of trials before it starts. And I think he's definitely not a second string. He's not as short as what Proper Areas, and he's not achieved as much as Proper Areas. But make no mistake, he won the Blue Ribbon, and Proper Areas was behind him, so that makes him dangerous. Right? And really, really nice dog. Really fancy him to go a long way as well.
After he won the Blue Ribbon, he was cut in price, but I think he's since sort of gone out again. So I think people are maybe doubting him after Central Park, but are you confident that he can come back doing the 2860s round Toaster? Because that would be good enough to win it.
Yeah, I'd be quite confident that he'd get back to those 2860 times. I don't think he'd be doing that in the first and second round. You'd want to see him to run well, but you really want them to be doing those times later on in the competition. That's what he did in the Blue Ribbon, kept improving, and hopefully that's what he can do in the Derby.
So the team still isn't 100% confirmed, but there is a couple more that will definitely be going in it, and one of those is Racket Hall Brute, who has come into some really good form recently, beaten in the Monmore Puppy Derby, but during that showed us what he can do, so he's turning out like he's a really good dog.
Yeah, he's an April pup, and he's now 2, obviously being an April, and he really come of age in the Monmore Puppy Derby. I actually didn't think Monmore would suit his style of running at all, but he ran fabulous in the heat semi-final, and to be fair, he ran very, very well in the final, and was second. So he seems to like Toaster. Yeah, he's only, I think, got like 1 win from 8 runs around there, but he's a nice, strong running dog, and he's the kind of dog that could certainly progress through a few rounds. He lacks the yard of early, which is going to be a big downfall for him, because you still need early pace, in my opinion, at Toaster and in a Derby when it comes, when you start coming towards the latter stages and start meeting the big guns. You're not going to get away with coming from last or anything like that and going past those real good dogs. So he's going to need a little bit of luck, maybe sharpen up his trapping. I don't see why he couldn't go for it. He certainly deserves his chance, and then he'll be stepped up in trip after the Derby.
Out of the team, he would probably be the one that comes home the strongest. At the time of recording, he was second at Toaster on Sunday and absolutely flew home. So could he be one of those that you're not worried when they get behind? Hopefully they can just run into a place and sort of keep qualifying.
Yeah, that would be his strength. He's very, very strong from halfway, and he'd be a difficult dog to keep out the first 3. So on that basis, you hope you can get a little bit of luck in running here and there, and as I say, he could go a few rounds, that dog.
Next one in the team is Kilmore Dancer, who really came to form at the back end of last year and the start of this year. He won on the Christmas Bonanza night, beating track record holder Barntick there. and the rest of the race was top class, and he also won there in January in a top class race, but maybe not gone quite to plan with him since. What's happening with him?
Yes, it's certainly been frustrating time for him. I thought when he won the Christmas Bonanza race, I thought, well, we've definitely got another potential um, Derby contender there, and then it's slightly gone wrong for him with a sort of an awkward moment at Monmore, and then his couple of defeats here and there. And then a couple of weeks ago, he did a 27:83 trial round Perry Bar. I mean, that's almost the second fastest time ever around the track, sort of thing. So we know it's there. And then, of course, again, he's not getting the luck. He was knocked over in the peaks of the Laurels there, and thankfully all seems okay with him. So I think if we took our time with him, brought him back slowly, give him a couple of trials at Toaster. He does like it there. He could still be a little bit of a dark horse, but we're quite certain he'll stay further. And again, a bit like Racquetball Brute, he'll probably be stepped up in trip afterwards, and then maybe like that's where the pair of them would come into their own. Those maybe 575 type trips.
The next member of the team is Nguyen DJ, a favourite of everyone's in the kennels. Broke his hock last year after doing some really, really good runs against King Memphis at Central Park, some very promising runs at Toaster as well. It took a long time, but brought him back, and I think he's 3 from 5 since coming back, so he's come back well.
He has, and he looked a real talent last year, and it was such a shame when he did get injured, and all credit to all the team for getting him back on the track. I think even the vet was surprised at how well he's come back, and he's put in some good runs. Again, he's so strong. It'd be hard to knock out of a Derby, because he's so strong and so fast. He's a sub 28.90 dog easily, and but he has no early pace really, and that's going to be a real issue for him. But I think the fact that we brought him back, and brought him back to Toast before we go on our travels anywhere, I think we'll give him a chance in the Derby. Again, I'm going to try and sort of get him a little bit fresher and go into that Derby quite fresh sort of thing. So and maybe he could be another one that could go a few rounds.
And if he was to go well, I mean, it was a bad injury, it would be maybe one of your best training performances?
It reminds me of a very similar injury that we had with Billy's Bullis, and famously that dog came back to win the Regency, and that injury was as bad as what his was. So there's no reason why this dog couldn't come back to win a competition. I'm not sure whether it would be the Toast of the Derby, but there could be a competition in this dog, because he's obviously, although he's a bit older, he's very lightly raced.
There are some very, very good dogs and bitches in the kennel that we haven't mentioned yet, such as New Destiny, currently in the Grand Prix at Sunderland. Are there any other members of the team that will be taking their chance?
Well, New Destiny would, she's a great stayer, and she's getting on a bit now. She does like Toaster, but I don't think Derby would be in our plans. I think she's got maybe another couple of competitions in her after this Grand Prix at Sunderland's finished, and we'll sort of try and lay her out for those competitions. But certainly not the Derby. But I thought one little bitch who deserves a chance in the Derby, and she's been running incredibly well for a long, long time now, is probably Fabulous Sonique. Absolutely loves Toaster as well. Again. Last week she did a 28.90 in a bitches race there. She seems very versatile over the 575 type trips, and a strong 500. So if she carries on running, she's in the Brighton Bell coming up. If she carries on running well, I think she possibly deserves her chance in the Derby as well.
And like you say, she's got great form at Toaster, great form at Romford. She would be the most winning bitch of the MWD partnership. She's won probably more than she's lost, but the traps, she absolutely loves them at Toaster. If you look at her sectionals, they'd be up there with the best sectionals of any of the dogs, and she stays.
Yeah. And of course we have some different markets for the Derby. You know, the bitch that goes the furthest and everything. You know, you wouldn't put her out of those kind of possibilities. Could she win a Derby? Possibly not. But again, like, you know, if you get something that absolutely loves the track, you'd be silly not to put them in the Derby. I mean, the worst thing you could do is have a fast dog who's not really suited to track and still put them in because they're so fast. If you know what I mean, they're you know, you're much better off having a dog that's loves the place and is suited.
We're only about 3 or 4 weeks away now from the Derby. The team is shaping up really nicely, and there's a real buzz about the Derby as well this year. Do you feel that?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I was at the Toaster pre-Derby sales a couple of weeks ago, and there was a proper buzz there. You know, everything on the day was lovely. Beautiful breakfast. Everywhere looked clean and tidy. And you could sense that from other people. Wow, you know, everybody's going to want to be a part of the Derby. It should be a special occasion, whether you've got a runner or not. I think everybody should come down at some point this year, even if it's not for the final, but for some of the heats and rounds of the Derby. I think you'll see a great occasion, and that's all thanks to Mike and his team. You know, the work that he's putting in to try and make this special is unbelievable, and I hope he's rewarded, not just with maybe an MWD winner, but great crowds that appreciate what he's doing.
Well, thank you very much, and
My pleasure.
fingers crossed for the team this year.
Okay.